Well, our own Joe Wurzelbacher was up in northern Israel today, and he had some thoughts for President-elect Obama.
You know, standing here in front of the Sea of Galilee, just a very peaceful location, absolutely gorgeous. You know, a couple thoughts come to mind, and hoping President-elect Obama might hear my words. First, I would encourage President-elect Obama to read the Hamas Charter if he hasn't already done so. Second, where he finds any sections objectionable, such as the calling for the destruction of Israel, to urge Hamas to revise and ratify them as a condition for current peace negotiations.
And Pajamas Media CEO Roger L. Simon is with me now to take a look at a few of the more extreme but unfortunately more typical lines from the Hamas Charter. Roger, good to have you with us.
Well, I'm ready to do it.
This is not a joke, this charter. Some of the lines in this charter are genocidal, basically, is what
Yeah, I think that's a fair characterization.
Why don't we take a look at 4 different passages and we can have you comment on each one of them.
Well, go ahead.
All right, here's the first one. In the Hamas Charter, it says that Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it.
Well, you know, that's a pretty extreme statement. It almost speaks for itself. I mean, you don't have to figure out what that means. But what's interesting is that Hamas began in 1987. That seems like a statement that comes from 1377 or something.
Yeah,
But it comes from 1987, which is the date of the beginning of the First Intifada, you know, and the beginnings of the split between Fatah and Hamas. Fatah being interested, supposedly, or claiming they're interested in a 2-state solution. Hamas is clearly only interested in a 1-state solution.
Yeah, that word,
it's their state.
That word obliterate doesn't leave a whole lot of margin for discussion, does it?
I don't know what the original Arabic is, but anything close to obliterate is obliterate.
Okay, let's look at this second verse we want to talk about. The Islamic resistance movement believes that the land of Palestine is an Islamic waqf consecrated for future Muslim generations until Judgment Day. It or any part of it should not be squandered. It or any part of it should not be given up. So there we have it. Holy land. It is your religious duty not to abandon that holy land, and they are calling now for a religious resistance to any negotiation of so much of a square inch of what they call Palestine.
Well, for those who, many people have visited the Holy Land, they visited Jerusalem, which is under control of the Israelis in most parts, but is also under the control of the WAF, the W-A-Q-F. That you just saw in there, which is the organization, for example, that controls the Dome of the Rock at present, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, because that's a holy shrine of Islam. What they're calling for is the WAF to control all of Palestine. I guess they mean it from the Jordan River to the sea. And since, Jordan is itself already Islamic, you're going for the whole enchilada, as we say in Mexico.
So just to wrap up with like bullet points, the first point basically says Israel cannot be negotiated with, must be obliterated. The second line says that there must not be an inch given up, so there's no such thing as land for peace as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, they don't.
Let's take a look at this third line from the Hamas Charter that we want to talk about. There is no solution for the Palestinian question except through jihad. Initiatives, proposals, and international conferences are all a waste of time and vain endeavors.
Well, this is a really interesting statement, since as we speak right now, today, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, on Ynet, about the peace conferences going on. I mean, just what they say are just vain endeavors. They're participating in these vain endeavors. Now, whether they're seriously participating is another word, because this is an indication, of the idea of a hudna. I don't know if you've heard that term.
A false truce. It's an Islamic term.
It's not really a truce. What we call a truce is not a truce to them. It's a hudna. It's a temporary respite in the continuing jihad, just as it says in this.
Yes, exactly. And
so if you don't rescind this, you're actually going on with jihad.
Precisely. And in the Quran, there are many examples of strategies and tactics that Islam is allowed to use, in fact, encouraged to use. False surrenders, false truces, and so on, right. That any kind of negotiations with infidels essentially is non-binding and therefore simply not worth the paper it's written on.
Precisely.
Let's go to the fourth point. This one really is quite a shocker. It reads, after Palestine, the Zionists aspire to expand from the Nile to the Euphrates. When they have digested the region they overtook, they will aspire to further expansion and so on. Their plan is embodied in the protocols of the elders of Zion, and their present conduct is the best proof of what we are saying. Roger, anytime I hear anybody mention the protocols of the elders of Zion, I know that person is a bald-faced liar.
Well, I think that's a pretty good assumption. I mean, aside from that, the most obvious thing is that 3 years ago the Israelis pulled out of Gaza. So this is all about, and they have no intention of taking Gaza back. So this is all nonsense. Again, another clause that should be eliminated, in my estimation, from the Hamas charter. Now, I know that that Joe Wurzelbacher, coming to us from northern Israel, was asking the future president, as of today, to inject this into the peace conference and make this, because otherwise it's all silly on one level. Now, at Pajamas TV, what we've done is we put the actual text with a link of the Hamas charter, because most people haven't read it. I mean, it's not exactly entertaining reading. And also we have a link, we're going to have a link up there for people to comment on the charter, and no matter who they are, whether they're high school students, college students, plumbers, anybody, to go up and say what parts of this charter they believe should be eliminated in order to have peace.
Yeah, the 4 points we raised, just again, very briefly as bullet points. Israel must be obliterated. Every inch of Palestine is their land, and none of it must be given up, not an inch of it. Treaties and negotiations are worthless and vain, and they will not be honored. And fourth, that as allowing the state of Israel to exist means that Israel eventually will conquer the whole world according to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a well-known forgery from the Russian secret service. Yeah. Okay. So, well, there we have it.
There you have it. That's four. But there's more.
Final thing, Roger.
Just wait. There's more.
Final thing, and you're a historian, you know this too. The remarkable thing about dealing with these people, with people like this, with totalitarians, is they're never shy about what they say. They're never shy about what they believe. They always put it out there. Everything that Adolf Hitler ever did was in Mein Kampf, and all you had to do was look, and there's the blueprint. Read the book.
Now people can go online,
read the book.
PJTV, click on the Hamas Charter, and find out what these guys want.
Well, there you have it. As Roger said, the Hamas Charter is posted online at pjtv.com. Please take a look for yourself. There's a survey there so you can let us know what you think about its various articles and which you think should be revised.